Hey everyone, this is Stephanie here with creatingwithin.com, and I wanted to talk a little bit about the patterns in our lives. We all have them, and when we're seeing patterns, really all that means is there's obviously a lesson there for us to learn. And when a pattern keeps repeating itself, it just means that we haven't learned the lesson that we need to learn from that. And a lot of times our souls have come into this experience with already pre-planned agendas of what it is that we have chosen for ourselves to learn in this particular lifetime. And so, for example, some of us are born into really extreme circumstances, and we're put into situations where we have rough upbringings, and maybe we're born into a family that's abusive, and maybe we have parents who have neglected us, and so we're born in a complete contrast and not really having any love and any validation. And we have to understand that even though it sucks when we are born and we're in situations that technically, quote unquote, we can't control, we have to understand that a lot of times our souls have put us in those situations because there is something for us to learn. So for example, if we were born into a family where we weren't loved, and where maybe your father neglected you and was emotionally abusive, and maybe there was substance abuse in your family, that could be a lesson in your soul that you came here to learn how to love and how to honor yourself. And it isn't until we can learn to love and honor ourselves that those kinds of situations and patterns will stop presenting themselves. Because if you notice, sometimes we're born into a certain environment, and then we find ourselves attracting in our love relationships our parents. We find ourselves a guy who is, if we were neglected in our childhood, or we grew up in an abusive household or with substance abuse, we might tend to attract somebody who neglects us emotionally and who physically abuses us, or who has addiction problems. And the reason that is happening is because our souls need to learn the lesson on how to love ourselves. And it isn't until we can really honor who we are and really take control of the situation that those patterns will cease to exist. Because we need to understand that no one can treat you any way that you don't allow them. People only treat you the way that you treat yourself, because everything in this outside world is really a reflection of our inner world, and it's just a projection of our own inner stuff. So every situation that you're encountered is just teaching you something. And so if you find yourself in situations and in relationships that are not honoring you and are not giving you what you want, despite how much you give and how much love you keep putting in, you keep hitting resistance and you keep going up against blockages, and you just don't feel like you're getting what you need, it's because you have to take a step back and you have to really think about, are you giving yourself those things? Because a lot of times we operate out of our own voids, and so many of us are so desperate for love, for unconditional love, because so many of us want to be validated, we want to be loved, and we have so much love to give, and we just feel like we just want to share our love with another person, and if we can just find this person and shower them with all this love, then everything will be great. But in reality, sometimes you realize that it's the exact opposite, and what happens is you find yourself in situations where people keep rejecting you, or they're mistreating you, and it's because we're coming from this desperate place of wanting to be seen and wanting to be accepted and wanting to be validated. But in reality, we have to do that for ourselves. We have to validate ourselves, and we have to love ourselves first before another person can do that for us. And as long as we continue to try to seek those things outside of ourselves, you're going to continue to attract people who are not whole. Because if you're not whole within yourself, you can't possibly attract another person that's whole. You're just going to attract another person who has a bunch of holes, and together you both are going to be trying to fill these holes within yourselves. And it's just going to be a cycle until you can learn to recognize the patterns and take action towards it. And once you take action towards it, the situation and the same type of people that you keep attracting will cease to exist from your reality. I just think it's so important to recognize that the way that other people treat us is really a reflection of how we treat ourselves. And the things that we try to seek in another, we first have to really give to ourselves. We can't have our self-esteem be dependent on how other people view us and how other people treat us. For example, it's very easy to respect yourself when other people give you respect. The challenge is to respect yourself when other people don't respect you. So knowing where to draw the line and where to draw those boundaries, and if somebody is treating you in a way that you know isn't honoring you, then you know that you have to draw that line, and you have to walk away from things sometimes. Sometimes we find ourselves in relationships that aren't healthy for us, and we fall in love with a person's potential. And we may be in a relationship with a guy, and we have this need to be loved and to be recognized and to be validated, and we attract somebody who looks like kind of they're giving us that, but they have all these other issues, and they're neglecting us in so many ways. But we keep letting things, like I like to say, under the rug. We'll let that go. I let that go because I want this so bad that I'm willing to give up everything else of myself just to get this love and this validation from this person. And it's crazy because then we find ourselves in situations that are unhealthy, and we find ourselves in terrible cycles that we can't get ourselves out of sometimes. So really look at yourself and who you want to be, and make sure that person that you say you want to be, that you align your actions and your thoughts and your behaviors to align with that person that you see in your mind's eye that you know you are, because nobody else can help you become who you're meant to be. Only you can do that. And in a relationship, you have to love and you have to respect yourself before anybody else can love and respect you. And it's sometimes better to walk away and to feel alone, quote unquote, than to be with someone who is abusing you mentally, physically, emotionally, and walk away from that, because otherwise you're just going to find yourself in a terrible cycle, and you're always going to be looking outside of yourself to have other people validate you, and you'll never truly be in control of your life. So think about it and just make sure that you are aligned with you, and we'll talk soon.